Good evening and welcome to Sunset News. In this program, we bring you news, community stories, economic indicators, weather forecast, as well as sport. I am Ashwin Berry. In Sunset News tonight, while the COVID-19 pandemic has devastated the tourism industry, the virus also offers an opportunity to rethink and possibly realign existing and planned tourism operations to be fundamental, environmentally sustainable, and community-centered. Most important, though, is that all stakeholders in the travel and tourism industry should engage in an open, sophisticated, in-depth discussion about the near and far future of the sector. This is one of 5 recommendations given in a new report released on Thursday at the Institute for Public Policy Research. The report, titled Namibia's Tourism Industry Post-COVID Bounce Back, Gradual Recovery or Transformation, seeks to provide a broad overview of COVID-19 pandemic's impact on Namibian tourism and the response of Namibia's tourism industry in mitigating its most harmful effects. It also seeks to survey the current, near and far future effects of COVID-19 on global tourism relative to regional trends and expectations. Now, if you're into watching the night skies, make a note to get up very early on Monday the 16th of May when the first total eclipse of the moon for 2022 will occur. This event, known as a blood moon, will also be visible in Namibia. This is only possible every 2.5 years. You will be able to see Earth's closest neighbor dressing up in red between 3:29 and 6:53 a.m. local time. Today, the Electricity Control Board held a press conference for the approval of the NamPower Tariff 2022-2023. From 1 July, the kilowatt hour will cost 7.3% more. The ministry availed 100 million Namibian dollars through the National Energy Fund to mitigate the impact of the increase on consumers. The acting CEO, Rachel Boyce, said that future tariffs are expected to increase in line with inflation. Newly elected president of SWANU, Evilastas Karonda, says government must seriously consider and set aside 28 May to commemorate the genocide committed in the early 1900s against the Nama and Ovaherero by the German government. The Herero and Nama genocide was a campaign of ethnic extermination and collective punishment waged by the German Empire against the Herero and the Nama and the San in Namibia. It was the first genocide of the 20th century, occurring between 1904 and 1908. In January 1904, the Herero people, who were led by Samuel Maherero, and the Nama people, who were led by Captain Hendrik Witbooi, rebelled against German colonial rule. On January 12th, they attacked more than 100 settlers in the area of Okahanja, and quite notably, they spared women and children, as well as all British people who were their allies at the time. Despite this, Namibia still does not have a national commemorative day for the genocide. Here is a video on the story.
SWAPO is a government that should represent the interests of all citizens, should also extend commemorative activities of such kind to all ages and all eras of our liberation struggle. This would, for instance, call into issue the Genocide Commemorative Day, which SWANU has proposed some years ago in Parliament, and over which a lot of consultations were carried out. And as you know, SWANU proposed the 28th of May as a day on which to commemorate the atrocities, to commemorate the lives lost as a result of the atrocities committed by the German authorities. And to this day, if you consider the number of Namibians who perished at the hands of German imperial troops, and consider the numbers of our people who perished during Kasinga, these two things do not speak to one another. But 32 years into independence, we still do not have even a monument or a day on which we sit down as a nation and remember the loss that our people suffered at the hands of the Germans. And therefore, to that end, it was reconfirmed that the day to commemorate the victims of genocide be the 28th of May alongside other days such as Kasinga.
Now, the parents of an 11-year-old girl of Korigas are suing the Ministry of Health and Social Services for 1.9 million Namibian dollars after she died 4 days after her tonsils were removed in the state hospital in Korigas. Theonista Kares was discharged from the hospital a day after the operation while she already started bleeding from her mouth. 3 days later, she was admitted again with a history of vomiting blood at home and generalized body weakness. She was admitted for observation while she was taken back to the theater for examination and also received 2 units of blood. The next day, while walking outside the ward, she experienced massive bleeding from the mouth, collapsed, and unfortunately died. A truly saddening story. Now, in community talk after the break, Run Along Breakfast has grown since it started, and now it takes place weekly. Stay with us. Adam Tas is coming to Windhoek to help build a brighter future for education. Join us at the Sounds of Caring concert at Windhoek High School Vekkop on 20 and 21 May, where he will be performing with Von Arends and Rian Smith. Tickets cost 200 Namibian dollars and are available via eticket.my.na. All proceeds go towards the African Child Development Trust. Getting into community talk, the Run Along Breakfast was started by Jean-Paul Schmidt and his wife Naomi for the benefit of the Ongwe Diva community. Today, these runs take place every Saturday between 6 and 7 a.m. with both young and old participating. Tuyemo Haidula was at the most recent event.
Jean-Paul Schmidt, or everybody knows me as JP. The Run Along started about 1 year ago in February last year, 2021. We started off as a small group of about 30 to 40 runners. And the idea was just to get together to have something to do on a Saturday morning for the community. It never started as a Run Along Foundation, we just started as the breakfast run. Obviously it then grew, people sort of were seeing what we're doing and they were interested, and then we realized, look, this is something that we can have, that we can make grow. And then we founded the Run Along Foundation, and then we started going bigger. Currently we've got over 1,000 people on our database, and it's growing every week by at least 20 to 30 people. So hopefully at this momentum, by the end of the year, we'll have over 2,000 runners. So the event takes place every Saturday morning from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. The last start is 7. It's a staggered start, so you can start wherever you run. It's an untimed event. So the whole idea is basically to show up and do your either 5K or 10K, whichever suits you. You can do your personal timing if you want to improve. Kids are welcome, adults are welcome. As a matter of fact, we actually have runners from the visually impaired and the hearing impaired school as well. Next week we're going to have some wheelchair pushers here as well. From the 20th of May, we will have Greg Milano here from America. He will be bringing up some chairs as well, and then we will actually do a big exhibition on wheelchair cycling and wheelchair racing. Like everybody knows, we are basically built on 4 legs. The first leg is the community-based project. The second leg is that we do awareness runs. So we try and make people aware of many things in our society, whether good or bad. The fourth leg is that we try and raise money for different organizations. So we call them charity runs. And then the last leg is the community business involvement or corporate involvement. It's an excellent platform for companies to advertise and be part of their community. It's a very cheap way of entering. First of all, this is what do they call it? It's a no entry event, so that means you don't pay to enter. However, there's big reward for you. So we do it after 10 races. You can get your bronze medal. Like today, we had 13 recipients of the first bronze medals, and then after 20 races, you get your silver medal, and 35 races, you get your gold medal. So last year we had quite a few gold medal recipients, and this year I think it's going to be much bigger.
What a heartwarming and indeed heart-pumping endeavor. Now, after the break, we look at World Press Freedom Day for our story of the day. Stay with us.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in 1 bundle. It's new, it's 1 bill, and you can stay connected in more than 1 location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
World Press Freedom Day celebrations took place today at the University of Science and Technology. Dr. Pheya Moshelenga, the Minister of the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, announced that the government will be releasing a community media policy framework. Mr. Jafar Moussa El Khadoum, the UNESCO representative to Namibia, addressed the audience, as well as the EU ambassador to Namibia, Mrs. Sinika Antila. Jeanette Diergaard has more.
There is a growing trend globally where technology companies, that is some, are monitoring the work of journalists and information shared by their sources. Unauthorized surveillance can expose information gathered by journalists, including from whistleblowers. Namibia has moved up from 24th to 18th position globally, and is now rated the second, just after Seychelles, second best African country in terms of press freedom, according to the latest Press Freedom Index that was just released. The government remains committed to creating a positive and enabling environment for freedom of expression and access to information, online and offline, in line with international guarantees of these rights, including a free, independent, and pluralistic media, through transparently adopting appropriate legal measures and following adequate public consultation, guaranteeing the exercise of journalism free of interference as required by the Windhoek Plus 30 Declaration. Furthermore, promoting universal access to the internet and ensure the safety of journalists. The ministry is busy finalizing the community media policy framework within the current financial year. The community media policy framework will strengthen the development of community media in the country, more especially community radios, which by extension will empower communities at the grassroots level. The ministry remains steadfast in implementing this important policy. Director of Ceremonies, given that access to information is one of the cornerstones of freedom, we reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that the Access to Information Bill is passed. As you are all aware, the bill was referred to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information, Communication Technology and Innovation. The Parliamentary Standing Committee concluded public hearings in February 2022, and the bill is now back to the August House to follow the normal legislative process that will eventually culminate into producing a law.
Our celebration coincides with the annual World Press Freedom Day global conference hosted by UNESCO and the Republic of Uruguay in Punta del Este, Uruguay, to whom Namibia gave the baton last year. Every year, Namibia organizes activities to commemorate the internationally recognized World Press Freedom Day, which had its birth in Windhoek in 1991. Namibia thus attaches great value to the freedom of the press as an integral part of democratic governance. Ladies and gentlemen, we can recall that the eyes of the global world were fixed on Namibia in 2021, when we successfully hosted the World Press Freedom Day 2021 conference.
and member states adopted the resolution on the 2021 Windhoek Plus 30 Declaration on Information as a Public Good at the 41st session of the UNESCO General Conference in November 2021 in Paris, France.
Many independent and committed journalists and media workers around the world keep exposing injustice in their own countries and contribute to building a better future.
Now, in the past 12 months, except for April and November 2021, Namibia has been registering a trade deficit. More on this in our economic news segment after this short break. Now, as I just highlighted, in the past 12 months, except for April and November 2021, Namibia has been registering a trade deficit. Namibia's trade deficit improved in March 2022 to 2.9 billion Namibian dollars when compared to 4.6 billion Namibian dollars recorded in February 2022. Export earnings stood at 6 billion Namibian dollars, a 3.4% decrease when compared to 6.3 billion Namibian dollars recorded in February 2022. In addition, imports amounting to 8.9 billion Namibian dollars were recorded, a 17.7% decline when compared to 10.8 billion Namibian dollars registered in the previous month. Next up, let's have a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar has increased across three major currencies, namely the US, Euro, Pound, and decreased against the Yuan. On the NSX, all stocks remain unchanged except Trustco Group Holdings, showing an increase of 4.2%. Local index on the NSX remains unchanged, while the overall index has decreased by 1.09%. Gold and copper and Brent crude oil have increased, and zinc saw a decrease. We look at tomorrow's weather forecast just after the break. Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's get into your weather predictions. It remains hot in the north, with Enana and Oshakati experiencing hot conditions with 35 and 34 degrees respectively. Ariamsflay will experience a cold morning with a minimum of 9 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 30. UN Chief Antonio Guterres on Wednesday called for more resources to help Nigeria meet the humanitarian needs of people affected by conflict. More on this in international news after the break. You are still with Sunset News, and this is your international news story. UN Chief Antonio Guterres on Wednesday called for more resources to help Nigeria meet the humanitarian needs of people affected by conflict. Guterres was concluding his two-day mission to Nigeria. He made the remarks after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. In 2020, Nigeria counted more than 2.7 million internally displaced persons. We have called for an additional $351 million as part of the overall $1.1 billion for our humanitarian response plan for Nigeria. But despite all I have seen, the people I have met remain committed to returning to their communities and resuming their lives, said Guterres. On his part, Buhari reiterated his government's commitment to fighting terrorism and called for international assistance to end extremism. There can be no better assurance that the world is with us as we confront extremist terrorist organizations, hunger, and the enormous problems of millions and millions of displaced people during this important visit, he said. On Monday, Guterres visited a rehabilitation center for victims of Boko Haram and an internally displaced persons camp in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State. After the break, we get into Namibia national football teammate of Peter Shalulile, having described him as immortal. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's get into your sports news update. Olympic silver medalist Christine Mboma's next task for the athletics season is the third edition of the Kip Keino Classic, where she will compete in the 100 and 200 meter events. I'm sure the nation is certainly behind her. Now, close to 400 learners have converged on Tsumeb for the Namibia Private Schools Organization Games, which start today and end on Saturday, which of course you can also catch on NTV. Now, after making history on Tuesday when he became the player to reach 50 goals for Mamelodi Sundowns, Peter Shalulile has 3 matches left to equal a better 26-year-old record of 25 South African Premiership goals in one season. What a superstar. After the break, we get into your highlights. Thank you for staying with Sunset News through the last half hour. Let's get into the highlights. Today, the Electricity Control Board held a press conference for the approval of the NamPower Tariff 2022-2023 from 1 July. Kilowatt hour will cost 7.3% or more. The ministry availed $100 million Namibian dollars through the National Energy Fund to mitigate the impact of the increase on consumers. The acting CEO, Rachel Boyce, said that future tariffs are expected to increase in line with inflation. In the past 12 months, except for April and November 2021, Namibia has been registering a trade deficit. Namibia's trade deficit improved in March 2022 to 2.9 billion Namibian dollars when compared to 4.6 billion Namibian dollars recorded in February 2022. And finally, Olympic silver medalist Christine Mboma's next task for the athletics season is the third edition of the Kip Keino Classic, where she will compete in the 100 and 200 meter events. And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook, on all the NMH platforms on weekdays, as well as on our website, oneup2.com. Sunset News screens on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 94 every weekday from 7:30 to 8 p.m. I am Ashwin Berry. This has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.